Hello everybody, welcome back to Sports Federation TV. As you know, we talk about the federations in the Western Cape, 6 districts in the Western Cape provincial structure, and we try and give as much exposure to the sports bodies in the Western Cape as we possibly can. One of the reasons, because sports sponsorship is so hard to come about these days. To find money, you've got to go to the lottery and so on. Anyway, getting the exposure and driving participation and contributing transformation is one of the mandates of the Sports Confederation, and this is what we try and do on the show. On the show this evening, though, we've got Racing Pigeons, Western Province Athletics, and Western Cape Basketball. So a couple of interesting sports lined up for you this evening. So make sure you don't go anywhere, and we'll keep you posted on what's happening in the world of sport in the Western Cape. We'll start off with Racing Pigeons, though, and with me is the chairperson of Racing Pigeons, Andrew Kruger, and the vice chairperson, Erwin Wallendorf. Welcome back, gents.
Thanks, JP. Nice to be here.
Are you guys all full steam ahead now? The year started for you. You've been on the show before, so it's all systems go now.
Yeah, very much so. Look, we're in the off-season with Racing Pigeons at the moment.
Do you guys have a season?
Yeah, absolutely.
Off-season?
4 seasons, as a matter of fact.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Four seasons in one day?
No, not over a year. 365 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, weather-wise, it's 4 seasons in a day sometimes. Pigeons have what we call the off-season at the moment, where they're molting. So they're starting to renew their feathering for the new season.
Okay. How do you work that out? I mean, the pigeon doesn't go down to the shop and say, I need a new jacket.
No.
Do they just start dropping feathers and or is it all sort of timed to the...
Yeah, look, no, it's seasonal, so it goes on weather. So obviously nature looks after the little animals.
Yeah.
And when it's at its warmest, they drop obviously the most feathers.
Yeah.
So round about from now until about the middle of March, they drop off a lot of their body feathers. And then they molt their racing flights, which are the last flights on each side of the wing, as from now through to about the end of March.
What do you mean by the flight? Is it the tips of the wings?
Correct. The pigeon. If you open a pigeon's wing, there are 20 feathers on each side.
Really? Is it that specific?
Yeah,
Is it actually a number?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh,
You've got 10 feathers close to the body, fanning out close to the body, all more or less the same size, and then you've got 10 what we call flights, running from the coverts, which are the inside feathers, out to the outside of the wing. So those range in distance from about 3 inches, which can go as much as about 4.5, 5 inches.
So, Erwin, what do you guys do off season? If it's a bodybuilder, I'd know he's in the gym.
Well, the season for some unions and some federations in around about October, and then the guys are hard at work doing the necessary matings or pairings for the new season, using the right genetics, and then they breed a new team. And at that juncture, you'd find that the birds that raced would start dropping, dropping their flights to renew the new flights, as Andy just said. And most fanciers in South Africa will breed a team about 60 pigeons. Some fanciers who have enough ground to build big lofts on.
What is a big loft, size-wise?
Well, we'd probably look at about 30 meters plus.
Square meters?
No, length.
30 meters long?
That's right,
really?
yeah. And it's normally, pigeon lofts normally are about 10 meters on most properties. Yeah. 10 meters length and about 6 to 6.5 meters depth or width.
How do the average fancier build a loft? Is it just pigeon wire
No. What's fundamentally important is that the loft is well suited to weather conditions. Keep the birds nice and cozy and healthy. They've got scientific systems of aerating or circling the air in pigeon lofts nowadays. Some of the lofts could cost as much as 600,000-700,000 rand for a pigeon loft. It actually doesn't look like a lot of people think it's just a cage with wire and a few planks. It's built out of brick and plaster and roof tiles and air conditioning and heating
system. Housing system.
That's correct.
Sounds like more than I've got in my house.
Yeah.
There's no air conditioner there.
Yeah.
Sounds like pigeon has a pretty good life.
Yeah. It definitely has. If you have the means and can look after a pigeon in that way and house him in that way, it is a pleasure. But ironically, even the smaller pigeon lofts that are built with more rudimentary material, many successes come from those pigeon lofts and pigeon fanciers, keeping a small select team.
And then what are the costs associated once you've built your loft or your small house?
I would say the minimum is about 7,000 to 8,000 rand for a pigeon loft, not less than that.
Per month?
No, to build it. But the cost to maintain a team could be anything between 1,000 and 3,500 rand a month. A team of about 60 pigeons.
60 pigeons. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's food and medicine and
correct.
And so on. And Andrew, let's bring you back into the picture here. 2017. How would you sum up 2016? Was it a good year for you guys?
Yeah, JP.
Because I found 2016 to be one of the worst years ever.
Yeah, most people say that. Look, pigeon racing has its highs and its lows, like any other sport for that matter. And the weather plays a major role. You know, we're finding that the seasons are getting a lot hotter. We all know about global warming, so that is a major factor with pigeon racing. And then also in the Western Cape, we always contend with wind. You know, over the last couple of seasons, we have noticed as well that the wind doesn't only blow specific months of the year, it blows all the way through the year.
Completely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, you know, it affects everything. So nature does play a major role in it. And then obviously, as far as the rest of the year was concerned, we had a very successful combine race flown from Hopetown last year on the 10th of September of 2016. Very successful.
Yeah.
There were over 16,000 pigeons in the race and about almost 1,100 fanciers that took part.
Yeah.
So that was very successful. And generally speaking, you know, the guys have had a pretty good year of it.
Yeah.
And everybody's looking forward to a good one this year.
So for when you talk about looking forward to this year, then 2017, I know it's, you know, we're in the first months of the year now, but have you got a rough idea what your schedules are looking like, and maybe some strategic plans for the sport?
Yes, very much so. Look, we have about 28 different federations as part of our organization. So most of them do the day-to-day sort of work as regards the actual pigeon keeping in the different areas.
Yeah.
We control it from a management point of view. So yes, we put out programs already. We've got a combine race again this year in September, and that'll be from a place called Stradenburg. That's about 700 odd kilometers to the Western Cape. And everybody takes part in that again. So that's the highlight of the year. But of course the different federations, of which I mentioned there are 28 of them, all have their own highlights. They have federation races, they have club races. They race for a bit of money every now and again. That does play a part in the racing sport as well.
Folks, we're speaking to Andrew Kruger and Owen Wallendorf from Racing Pigeons. You're watching Sports Federation TV. We're on every Friday night, repeats on Saturday morning at 8 a.m. And of course, we upload to Facebook and YouTube. So go to Facebook and look for Sport Federation TV if you've missed any of the episodes. We clip each one of the interviews and upload for you to share. Andrew, or at least Owen, let's go back to you quickly. From a participation point of view, 2016, I think we saw a new type of activity from a confederation perspective.
Absolutely.
Certainly, we've been focusing a lot on transformation. We've been speaking on the Women's Commission, the Coaches Commission, the High Performance Commission. Not necessarily that you participate in all of that stuff. But how have you found the world of, world of lack of a better explanation, SASCOC, essentially the sporting structures? How did you find 2016 and what we do at the Confederation?
I think it's absolutely essential and very important that we subscribe to the norms and standards of SASCOC. We obviously, our constitution is aligned with SASCOC's constitution and the Confederation in the Western Cape. Sport as a whole, the pigeon sport as a whole, my target as an individual, and everybody has buy-in on that, is to target the youth, to help young boys and girls participate in the sport. It's rather difficult when you've got high-tech technology, cell phones and iPads and the like. But we are growing the sport in numbers amongst the youth. There's about 124 young school kids that are interested.
Are you seeing more kids join?
Yes.
Okay, well then, I mean, then you already have won. You can put a tick mark next to one of your goals.
That's correct. And what is very nice is that we have friends overseas as well. That Belgians and the Dutch and Germans. We had visitors from overseas. They intend assisting us as far as building pigeon lofts for young kids in the Western Cape. My target is over the next few years is to build 50 pigeon lofts with funding from elsewhere.
Yeah.
And we obviously, you probably know that we brought in a container last year where we distributed about 4,500 pairs of shoes and pigeon clocks as a timepiece used to clock pigeons. Our friends.
I didn't actually know that. That's absolute news to me. So I mean, that's incredible. 4,000 pairs of shoes. Plus more.
That's right. And the intention is to bring another 6,000 pairs of shoes into.
Why shoes? What made you decide on shoes?
You know, when they toured, our friends from overseas toured the Western Cape. They saw a soccer game amongst young kids. Like any young boy playing soccer on a field or so everybody was bare feet, and the comment was they can't believe that these kids can kick that ball with their bare feet.
Yeah.
And then it came to mind. A friend of mine said, "Can we possibly help these kids with shoes then?" And one of the friends is aligned to that type of business. And he went back, and it's the family Schriel, very known, well-known family in Belgium. They serve on the International Olympic Olympiad, Pigeon Olympiad, which is a part of the Olympic movement. And they collected all
some shoes.
Yes, and clocks and clothes and so on. So they are geared to helping us in this forthcoming year. What we're going to try and attempt is to build a fairly large pigeon loft at a school for kids that haven't got a home as such, that have it's in the peninsula, to use the phrase, and we'll build a pigeon loft for these kids as part of therapy for them.
They talk a lot about that, being able to touch an animal, play with an animal, you can connect to.
Yeah, the great heavyweight boxer Mike Tyson was introduced to racing pigeons, and he left his troublesome past on the back.
I think he left some of it behind.
Yes,
but I mean, of course, he's a big proponent of pigeon racing. He's had his own television show, and we saw the amount of activity. Certainly, of course, that was a United States-based program, but clearly, racing pigeons is a massive global phenomenon.
Yeah, and within the next couple of days, in the next 3 or 4 days, the Olympiad will be taking place in Brussels, where fanciers from all over the world will compete against each other.
Where will they be?
In Brussels itself.
Okay, oh, sorry, of course you said in Brussels.
Yeah, in Belgium.
Will you guys be going to that?
No, I won't be going this time. I think they will probably move the next event to Poland, and I hope to go to that one.
So Andrew, you must be happy. I mean, from a transformation perspective, I'm just hearing good things. What I find quite amazing is we keep thinking about transformation, that that it's limited to the world of sport, but you've decided, and if you weren't participating in sport, you wouldn't have been doing this, which means to me that sport somewhere along the line, Mandela said, sport is the ability to change a nation.
Absolutely.
And look at this is what we're trying to point out to people. You don't have to win the gold medal.
Correct.
You don't. It's not just about participation. You can use your sport to find several different alternative ways.
Absolutely.
I mean, you guys must be thrilled.
We're very thrilled about that. At the end of the day, you don't need the physical prowess to be a pigeon fancier that you may need to play rugby, cricket, or soccer, or any of those sports. So it's not limiting in that respect. So we try and promote it amongst the youth, because at the end of the day, Urban's already mentioned, there's a lot of warmth and comfort in being able to keep a couple of pigeons. Just to see a pigeon being reared from a small, from an egg, and then after 18 days it hatches, and then the nurturing of that baby all the way through. The parents do the nurturing. And with pigeons, it's strange. The male and the female both feed. You know, in a lot of the other bird species, either one or the other does it. So they're pretty unique in that way. Look, we've domesticated them to a large extent, but obviously they carry a lot of...
they go out the house when they need to do their business.
Exactly. And we do
they open the door and fly out, come back when they're finished.
Absolutely. So we promote it as much as we can, you know, and all the kids listening today, if they really want to know something more about pigeon racing, then they can contact us at any stage. And we'll tell them about the sport. I have no doubt that in the area, within a 20-kilometre radius of wherever they stay in the Western Cape, there will be an active pigeon club.
This looks to me like an EXCO meeting, to be honest with you. You know, I look at that meeting. I see Professor Christo de Koning is in there as well. He's of course very much involved with the case for sport. But what do you got? What is that? Am I right? Is that it's either an event planning meeting or EXCO meeting. Which one is it?
JP, that was the inaugural meeting of this body.
All right.
Yeah, 2 years ago, we actually founded this provincial federation for racing pigeons, with a specific idea of being part of the Sports Confederation.
All right. Well, just tell us then who's in the picture. Let's go back to the shot. Who we got in here? Let's make sure we give credit where it's due.
Okay, as you're looking towards the picture on the left, starting with the dark checkered shirt, is Cobus Meiberg. He was one of the EXCO members. As you mentioned, Professor Christo de Koning is at the back.
Yeah.
In front of him, the yellow shirt, is Randy Engelbrecht. He races out of the Kraaifontein area in the Federated Board. I'm in the middle in the front. Just behind me is a chap called Benny Wiggins. He is from the Boerland area. And to my left is Erwin Wallendorf, the vice chairman of the association. Just behind Erwin, and to his back left, is Dexter Fisher. He acted as secretary of this specific committee, and he's a teacher by trade. And then in front we have Ali Kotze. He's also from the Boerland area out Worcester way.
Okay, so this is your executive, do you have what would you say were your challenges? I mean, you mentioned that you've got quite a large variety of federations or sub-federations. Now we talk about this as umbrella structures or coordinating structures.
Yeah.
Is that difficult to deal with? Because you've got an executive committee here. Now, how do those federations have representation and feel that they're equally looked after? That must be a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, we have a formula whereby we actually have delegates from the different unions that sit on our committee. They elect them. It's a democratic process. They elect them, and then they are collected to the committee. Some of them, the smaller ones, obviously being out in the districts, they don't have full representation, and we communicate with them on a regular basis with communications we put out monthly. So that's the way we communicate and how we actually control it from.
When you say communicate, how do you guys communicate with each other? Is it email or WhatsApp?
Yeah,
or
mainly
SMS
email. Mainly email. Everybody's got cell phones, so we do WhatsApping, a lot of WhatsApping and so on. But emails are pretty effective. Yeah.
Well, one would think that it's an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
But you still got to get someone to write the email.
Correct.
Put it all together, compile it, make sure it's all saying the right thing, and then someone has to send it out. There's a lot of admin behind that.
There is.
Your administration team at.
Yeah, we try and carry a lot of it ourselves. Professor de Koning's done a lot of the communications for us. We co-opted a lady that worked with rugby in the Western Cape. Her name was Marissa Calvert. I don't know if you might know Marissa. Marissa assisted us in the very first combined race we had. She did a lot of the PRO work for us and so on. But funding is always an issue. You know, we don't have money. So everything comes out of our own pockets, basically. We've got a grant that comes. That helps.
Isn't this exactly what we were talking about just before the show started? We talked about the amount of commitment and sacrifice that sports administrators have to make. But I mean, the flip side is that the rewards. You know, one of our missions, I think, this year is the recruitment of sports administrators.
Yes.
Obviously, we want the federations to increase their participation, but we desperately want more people to come through the ranks and know that the world of sport administration is great fun.
Yes.
Yeah, it's hard work.
Yes.
You know, you're gonna suffer a little bit, and you're probably gonna end up going broke. You're probably gonna end up getting divorced. You know, that type of thing. Your kids will never see you. But the rewards are quite substantial. But it also takes a unique human being to make this kind of commitment. And once you've made that commitment and that sacrifice. You actually go home at the end of the day and everyone's proud of you, mom and dad, and kids are looking at you like you're a hero. I mean, sports administration, we certainly need more sports administrators.
You're 100% correct. And with pigeon racing, it's no different. You know, there's a lot of commitment and dedication involved in pigeon racing. And that's the stuff you need to be able to be a good administrator in any sport for that matter. So we do promote that. I think a lot more can be done, obviously, to coach and train people as far as that's concerned. And that's why Erwin mentioned the participation of our Belgian friends. With the rand being as weak as it is, you know, they could, out of their piggy bank, finance quite a huge portion of our budget. So we look to that often, and they're very, very good as far as that's concerned. They come once or twice a year.
They must love it. They come here and
they love it.
Absolutely.
Cape
Town tourism destination
absolutely
icon.
And we treat them. We have a function. We get them to meet the different people and that type of thing. And they tour around the Cape. They go to the winelands.
I have no doubt that that's the first place they go is on the winery.
Absolutely, absolutely. We promote that.
Yeah. When you were.
Yeah, you know that you spoke of challenges. Challenges in terms of communication. You're talking of an older generation. The segment that we're talking about is a 60 plus segment. Some of our pigeon fanciers are 85 and 86 years old.
Yeah.
And if you have to send him a message or her a message, it's extremely difficult. You have to have a second to that person, in other words, send it to another person and convey that message to them. I said to Andy the year before last, making about 2,700 phone calls in a matter of a month is not easy to do, and that's part of our communication. It's costly.
You can be absolutely sure that there's one or two cell phone service providers that are very happy with my cell phone bill. I'm sure you guys have the same scenario.
And one other thing is in terms of the rewards. What our national organisation, South African National Pigeon Organisation, SAMPO, they've even got a bursary. These young boys and girls that we are trying to target will have an opportunity of going to study to become veterinary surgeons if they are really interested and motivated to participate in the sport. And it'll all be done on merit. It doesn't matter whether that young child is 10 or 17 or 18 years old. That's the idea, is to empower young boys and girls and prepare them for the future.
We're going to leave it at that. Andrew Irwin, thanks for joining me on Sports Federation TV. And of course, we'll be putting this on Facebook, we'll put it on YouTube, we'll put it on Twitter, and we'll get your website address as well. So folks, there where I go, obviously we put this in afterwards, but there where my hands go like this, there you see it. This is how you can get hold of the guys from Pigeon Racing. Gents, thanks for joining me, and we look forward to having you back.
Thanks, JP. Thanks very much for the opportunity.
Thanks, JP. It's a pleasure.
Lekker. Right, folks, of course, Sports Federation TV, as you heard me say earlier on, every Friday from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, and then again Saturday mornings from 8 o'clock until 9. Now, when we come back after the break, we are going to be talking to Alan Barnes. He's, of course, from the world of Western Province Athletics. He's been there for a long time, stalwart, and he's going to tell us what's happening in athletics at the moment. And if you haven't been to Sea Point recently, or Greenpoint, there's a fantastic athletics track there. In fact, we took the Olympic athletes to the track last year, and it was beautiful. It was my first time there. And those of you that watched the HSBC 7s would have seen some of the guys warming up there. So athletics is on a whole new level in Cape Town. And a little bit later, we'll be talking to Joseph Magadi from Western Cape. Basketball, all that and more, still coming up in the show. Back in a sec.